You are welcome to HN What's Your Say? The #1 listening show, where we discuss real issues with real people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name, Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. In a number of our previous videos, we have highlighted Sony's involvement in R. Kelly's ongoing legal troubles, and have found the record company to be at the center of this whole episode of accusations and trials. From their secret ownership of Lifetime TV channel, to the label's desire to take what belongs to Kelly, and that is his entire music catalog, we have managed to prove that indeed Sony Records is likely behind this traumatizing experience the R&B King has had to go through. Considering R. Kelly has worked with Sony for decades, it's difficult to understand when their hatred for the R&B King and the plot to destroy him started. It turns out the very same year 2022, when Sony added language to their contracts with signed artists to gain ownership over the artist's name, happens to be the very year the so-called tape surfaced and that R. Kelly was charged in Chicago. It wasn't just the same year, but only 30 days later when the indictment was served. This is evidence that the record company knew well what they were yet to do to R. Kelly. They also believed he wasn't going to survive this, and in order to own everything linked to his music catalog, they needed his name too, along with his domain name. And so they reviewed and updated their contract terms to allow this. When R. Kelly was acquitted, they only rescheduled their malicious plans for later. And now they have swung back into action, and are determined to fulfill this plan to the end. Sony is just too shrewd a company. It's shocking to learn that once you are signed with the label, they want to own everything you are, including your name. And this is the company our government has teamed up with to destroy the greatest people of all time. The likes of Michael Jackson and now R. Kelly. How naive. Moving to the allegations that R. Kelly did infect several of his girlfriends with herpes, the crime being that he did not disclose to them he had it, it's all confusing how the court would come to the conclusion that Robert indeed did transmit the disease to them, without understanding first whether they could have had the disease themselves before. And how do the jurors know anyway, that R. Kelly did not disclose this to the women? Or that he did not contract it from them? If R. Kelly has herpes, the disease doesn't fall like manna from heaven. He too must have got it from somewhere. If every woman he was with is now against him, it clearly means he must have caught it from one of them. Besides, there is a police report that suggests Faith Rogers, who claims contracted it from him, had earlier before she met R. Kelly contacted the police and claimed to have contracted herpes. It turns out one of her old friends published on social media saying the two had been targeting celebrities, and claims of contracting herpes from them was Faith Rogers' idea. According to legal analysts, the crime is not in having it or infecting others with it but simply not disclosing it. If Faith Rogers did contact the police and claimed to have it even before meeting R. Kelly, meaning she too did not disclose she had it, how can we even be sure that she ain't the one that infected him without letting him know she had it? There are a number of accusations that make us feel R. Kelly was more than prejudiced. In many occasions, the courts chose to believe the accuser's stories as though to suggest R. Kelly did not have a story himself. And the tough question remains, why do they choose to believe them and not him? And this is where evidence plays an important role. I am more than confident none of these women is able to prove that they were free of this disease before they met with R. Kelly, considering reports have it that several of them had been in very intimate relationships before meeting Kelly, and had been active. By blaming R. Kelly for their own disease, it's comparable to blaming one man for the existence and spread of HIV in the world. It cannot get any more prejudicial than this. These are some of the worst manifestations of the vice I have ever seen. It's difficult to find a term to describe this. Whether it's corruption, selective justice, or abuse of office. What we know for sure is that all these were acts of prejudice and should be reversed. According to Nancy Morgans, it's clear that R. Kelly's troubles didn't start yesterday. For decades, he has had to deal with a life full of legal battles, either with his girlfriends or his own family. If it wasn't child support, it was something else. All simply aimed at failing him, so that the fruits of his labor can be enjoyed by those that didn't have to put in the hard work. It looks like the main reason Sony acquired Jive Records was to own his precious catalog, and this they have pursued for decades. It's therefore no surprise to learn that the very same year they owned his name is the very year R. Kelly's 2002 charges bloomed. Everything that has been happening has been perfectly done and well planned out, all for the wrong reasons. In fact, it's so regrettable that R. Kelly did join Sony Records, yet he could have made it even on his own, considering his music was self-selling. There is no song R. Kelly released that needed pitching. In fact, some songs of his, such as Hair Braider, he had to simply stop performing in order to kill their popularity, but still failed. According to Monica, I still cannot comprehend why the resolution on R. Kelly's charges, that suggest he did transmit herpes to his girlfriends, do not necessarily match the science I know. I see no other way anyone would arrive at a verdict for such accusations, without referring to basic science. Sleeping with a man that has an STD, and later testing positive for the same disease, does not necessarily mean you acquired it from him. What's there to rule out that these women did not have it prior to their encounter with R. Kelly? Unless they want to suggest they were all virgins when they met him. It now becomes a question of who had it, knew they had it and didn't tell the other. But it's also never recorded when we say the things we say. I can't even imagine someone telling their lover how they have got a disease while holding a selfie stick to prove that they announced. It doesn't really matter who had it and who didn't. Even if R. Kelly caught the disease from these women, there is no way for him to tell the world that he was never told, simply because he can't prove it. Unless he has a full-time video and audio recording system with infinity backup to store every word that we can play back and check to confirm this, which is not typical of a normal person living a normal life. That is all we had for you today on HN What's Your Say? To keep updated whenever we post a new video, subscribe to this channel now. Also remember to hit the bell icon and enable notifications. And feel free to share your opinions with us in the comment section below, and let us know if you would like us to publish your views in our next release. We value all our subscribers' opinions.